People who are just joining us, today was going to be the day that prosecutors responded to the recusal motions against Judge Glanville. The judge who's been assigned to him gave them until 5 p.m. Eastern time today to do that. But Adriane Love filed something this afternoon saying that she was taken away from work by an unexpected medical emergency for an immediate family member. So they were asking for another 2 days to respond, and they got it. They say it was due no later than 5 p.m. Monday, July 8th. But here's the part about the undersigned chief deputy district attorney was unexpectedly called away from work after a medical emergency involving an immediate family member occurred. So as a result of the unexpected medical emergency, the state of Georgia respectfully moves the honorable court for an extension of 48 hours to file the state's response to defendant's motion to recuse. The state believes that it is imperative to the ends of justice that the matter of the motions to recuse be resolved as expeditiously as possible. They say that after requesting a 2-day delay. The state will act without delay in submitting the state's response. We ask for a 48-hour extension only to ensure that the matter is properly addressed by the state, given the unexpected recent set of circumstances. The state hereby respectfully requests the court grant the motion for additional time to file a response brief for recusal motions, and this is Adriane Love, and it was filed shortly after that, or it was approved shortly after that. This order extending the deadline. So yeah, now we wait. And I was thinking last week with the judge's order, she even says in here that time is of the essence. This is the order from last week where the judge tells him to respond to this stuff. She says, time is of the essence, given that a jury trial is currently paused pending resolution of these recusal motions. So I was thinking, just with that added urgency in the Monday 5 p.m. deadline, it's like, we might actually get a ruling by Friday, and maybe we still will, but now they're kind of pushing it. It might be into next week. So now we just wait, What are we going to do? Like I said, I'm interested to see the tone, to see how fierce they get, how lippy they get about it, or if they take a very even keeled tone in it. This is a pretty high profile motion for sure. But I've got the motions linked on. You guys go to legalaffairsandtrials.com, my website. I've got a story there in the centerpiece that's got that's got what's going on here, but it's got links to the motions and everything in here. But here's Judge Glanville kind of surprising everyone and saying he's sending the motions to somebody else.
Then transitioning to the last matter the court wanted to put on record. Upon further review, this court will in fact enter an order sending Mr. Adams and Steele's, Mr. Weinstein, and Mr. Banks' motion to recuse to another judge pursuant to Uniform Superior Court Rules 25.1 through 25.7 in the method and manner prescribed by our local rules. So this written order is entered. I will enter the order transferring it, and until such time as those two things are decided, then we'll be in recess until that time. And we will just inform our jurors that they're content until they're not supposed to come back on Monday until Monday anyway. So I will have Deputy Ingram and Ms. Umana indicate to them that they are still on recess and we're continuing to work. So that's all I have for you at this point in time. Okay? All right. Ms. Novi, can I ask you a question before you start anything? Madam, Didn't your law firm represent one of the co-accused in this case? How are you then? Do you have an actual or perceived conflict in this case?
No.
Have you been, I'm asking you at this point in time, could you state for the record how it is that you don't think you have a conflict? Because you did represent one of the co-accused in this case, correct?
I did.
Okay.
I did. He's been discharged. Your Honor, this has absolutely nothing to do with my representation of Sergio Kitchens. Haven't even discussed that or come up. And what happened in the ex parte proceeding. We're just representing Mrs. Bumpus, Attorney Bumpus, in what her position is with respect.
Is on mute?
Yeah, you're good now. Yeah.
With respect to this court. So completely different matter. And now we're dealing with a contempt hearing of Ms. Bumpus as opposed to a criminal prosecution of Mr. Kitchens. Completely different. And in fact, everything that we've gone through or anything we've learned about this case has nothing to do with what we've done with Attorney Bumpus.
Okay, I just want to, because you may have an actual or perceived conflict. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So if you think that it should be addressed, then I'm giving you the opportunity to do so at this point in time. Because you do have knowledge of this particular case, but all right.
Well, I think half of America has not. I said, I think half of America has knowledge of this particular case at this point.
But they're not before us at this point in time. So what else did you want to?
Well, and I'll speak for the court's purposes. I'll speak for myself and John Garland, who's also our co-counsel with Attorney Bumpus and who was my co-counsel in Mr. Kitchens' case.
All right.
So I'll speak for both of us in that respect since Mr. Garland's not able to be here.
All right.
A couple things that I just wanted to clarify for Your Honor. Is the court still intending to produce an order on what the court addressed orally on our recusal motion?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to produce an order basically bundling all, since there are 3 motions to recuse, to one to be spun on the wheel so that we don't get 3 separate people hearing these particular matters. So I will do that effective today.
Okay.
So does that answer your question?
It does with respect to that. The other issue was I think the court was holding under advisement our motion to quash.
That makes this moot at this point in time.
Okay. So
since I'm not going to have a hearing at this point or at any time in the future, you can re-raise it at that point in time if you show desire.
That's fine. So
I'm telling you at this point in time, I have no desire to resolve that. I don't need to at this point in time.
Okay. All right. Those are the questions that I had.
Okay. All right. Madam, unless you have anything else, you all can be excused. Counsels, I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, work on this particular order.
Yeah, so this is the last time we saw them all in court. This was last week. Yeah, they haven't been in court
actually
since
memorialized.
Simone actually asked here, like, any idea how long this is going to take? And no, not yet. I'm just catching up.
An order in writing and the motion to recuse in terms of the sending it to another judge pursuant to 25.1 through 25.7, and we'll see in a little bit, depending upon how it's ruled upon. All right. All right.
Your Honor, do we have a timeline of when the motion to recuse may be heard?
Don't know. That has to go to another judge pursuant to our local rules. So it will be basically put on the wheel. Of course, I don't have anything to do with that. So as soon as our clerk, Madam Clerk, Miss Alexander, and her team spin that, that's not within my information and purview.
Is this something that we can expedite? I mean, the state does have very concerns that we hold the jurors indefinitely regarding this matter. Is there anything that could be expedited so that those decisions can be made on the motion to recuse and we can move forward with the trial?
While I understand your concern, I think the rules of transfer and recusal are pretty clear that I'm not going to comment on anything that.
It's funny that he says that after kind of screwing up the entire process for recusal motions. But yeah, that's from last week. I've got that linked on legalaffairsandtrials.com. I was just saying, if you guys go there, I've got kind of an article explaining everything with 3 recusal motions. But for people who are just joining us, again, what is the news right now? Let me see here. So yeah, for people who are just joining us, today was going to be the day that prosecutors were going to respond to the recusal motions. The judge who's been assigned to them, Rachel Krause, another Fulton County Superior Court judge, gave them until 5 p.m. Eastern time, Monday, July 8th to respond. But today they filed a request for additional time that said Adriane Love, who was working on the responses, had been called away from work for an unexpected medical emergency involving an immediate family member. So they were not able to do that, but to get it done. But they needed another couple of days on it. So that's what we've got here. That's what just came in. 5 p.m. July 8th is no longer. It's now July 10th at 5 p.m. The judge approved it not long after that. They didn't get much time. They didn't give much time for the judge to consider it before the deadline. It was like an hour and a half before it was filed. But I mean, what would they have done if she had said no? But we've got it. We've got it right here. Having considered the brief 48-hour extension requested and the reasons given for requested extension, the motion is hereby granted. So again, for people who are just joining us, today was going to be the day that prosecutors were going to respond to the recusal motions. The judge who was assigned to it after Judge Glanville decided to basically give up his fight and give them over to another judge. Rachel Krause is the judge. She gave them until today at 5 p.m. to respond. But today, like an hour and a half before that deadline, they filed this motion for additional time to file a response brief to the recusal motion, asking for additional time. So they've got that. Another couple of days now. So I guess I'll have to schedule a live for this Wednesday around 5 p.m. They'll have the same 5 p.m. Eastern deadline. So hopefully by 5:30 or so they show up in the system. But I think they show up like right after it's filed. So we'll be able to check that out. But we're all just kind of waiting until that happens. And like I said, I thought that they were given the deadline and the urgency that the Judge Krause showed when she set this order last week. She even said, time is of the essence because this is a jury trial on hold. I was thinking, okay, maybe we'll have an order by the end of this week, by Friday. But now with the extra 2 days, I mean, they don't want to rush this out. They want to, who knows what her order is actually going to look like, but I imagine we're going to be looking at a written order here. So we'll have to see how this actually affects how long it's going to take for it to be decided on. So I don't know. If I had to make a bet, I don't think they're gonna recuse it. But one thing I'm waiting to see if we get a ruling on is the motion to recuse her to recuse the entire Fulton County bench. There's a motion in that says she shouldn't even, no Fulton County judge should be considering the motion. It should go to a judge in another county because they all work with Judge Glanville and know him. So I imagine we'd see a ruling on that before too long. But the fact that she issued that ruling, she has to know full well that other ruling is pending. So maybe that's a sign that she's not gonna grant that. But yeah, so it's just a holding pattern right now. It'll be interesting to see how many, how long their response is, the tone they take. That's what I don't know. I'm interested to see how much they clap back against it. Somebody regarding other cases, somebody asked about ASAP Rocky. I don't think there's really anything. He has a trial date in October 21st. And there's nothing really going on until then. He's trying to get the medical records he subpoenaed the medical records for the alleged victim in that ASAP rally. But we'll cover that when it comes. There's nothing really going on. I did post a video today about the new trial date for YNW Melly, not until 2025. But the recusal motion. Yeah, I just don't think when you read that recusal motion, like given my experience with recusal motions and that kind of thing, I just don't think that the ex parte, like as unusual it was. I mean, I can see why the defense is pissed. I think when you read through the transcript, and what happened afterward with Judge Glanville releasing the transcript, yeah, he had to be called out on it and everything, but just the fact that the transcript is being released, that kind of thing. I just don't think, I don't think this rises to any kind of like personal bias or anything. It's just it was a decision by a trial judge, and any other judge is going to give him deference on that. And I think even if it does end up going to a judge in another county, like he's just not going to get recused over that. I mean, I can see why the defense is pissed that they had a meeting with a witness like that, but the transcript seems, now that the transcript is out, I just think that the judge is going to go over it and just see it as an unusual situation involving a witness that was in an unusual situation and frankly didn't really seem to understand what was going on. I mean, it just seems like Glanville just creates more problems for himself, like A, by not telling the defense about that meeting or just inviting him to the meeting, and then B, everything that happened after that with holding Young Thug's lawyer in contempt. I mean, that was ridiculous. And then the kind of fight he was putting up, like not giving the recusal motions out to another judge, even though Georgia state law is pretty clear that that's what he should have done, especially based on his ruling when he said that this motion is, on its face enough to get it to be granted. He just said there was no evidence, but according to Georgia law, he's not supposed to consider that yet. It's just on its face. Is it sufficient? And if it is, then he's supposed to send it to another judge. So, yeah. So, Lena, thanks for the heart on TikTok. We'll see what's going on here, but, somebody said they thought the recusal request was for a number of events that have occurred. Brian Steele's request mentions other stuff. It's mostly about the ex parte and the contempt, but it mentions like hostile activity and incites some stuff. But Weinstein's and everything was mostly about it was based on the ex parte. But I just don't see it as. I think by the end of next week, for sure, we'll have a ruling on it, hopefully, and probably later this week, maybe later this month, Woody will actually be on the stand. It's kind of crazy how long that's taking, but thank you guys for coming in. Yeah, I know the tide. Like I see all the tones on YouTube, and I know I'd be joining the click bandwagon if I was just going off on judge misconduct, and I know the defense is doing their job by calling this out, and I can see why they're pissed, and them calling it misconduct or whatever is fine, but Glanville obviously does not think that this was misconduct, and what I noticed in the transcript is that. Kayla Bumpus even reads an email from Jonathan Melnick. This is early in the meeting where Jonathan Melnick emails her over the weekend and says that Woody might change his mind on Monday and testify. So they knew that was an option. So the idea that they badgered him and witnessed and intimidated him. I mean, he had full access to counsel, and they don't talk about the substance of his testimony much. And I also feel like the people are taking it out of context when they talk about how he was told that he could just lie on the stand. It's like, no, he wasn't. There are some quotes in there. If you take them just isolated by themselves, they they look like they could mean that, but it's Simone explaining the difference between impeachment and perjury. It's just a big question of like, why would you even want this guy on the stand? I mean, all their witnesses have just gone up on the stand and ended up doing what he did, where basically deny everything incriminating that they said years ago. So I feel like if there is a conviction, which is still a big question, who knows if there's even going to be a conviction in this case, they'll have plenty of issues to work with on appeal. And I'm not even sure if this one will be like what drives in appeal. You know, they'll probably have other stuff to say. But as somebody was saying, was Woody on the TikTok live the other day, or the other day? Did I miss a message from him? But I noticed he's been pretty active on there. But I mean, I think again, it was like completely unusual, and I can see why the defense is pissed that they would hold that they would hold a meeting, and then especially the fact that they wouldn't even tell the defense about it, or they at least, it was like 3 or 4 hours had gone by between the meeting and Brian Steele calling them out on it, and they hadn't been informed of it. But I just don't. I don't see it as being anything that rises to the level of like personal bias. Like the times that you see judges actually get recused from a case, or when, you know, they're making really inflammatory statements about, you know, a party before they've even been sued, like threatening them. That's the one that I saw in federal court in Orange County. A judge get recused by another judge over. I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong, but my prediction is he survives this for sure. But thank you guys all for tuning in. Again, for people who are wondering what's going on, this was going to be the day that prosecutors were going to respond to the recusal motion against Judge Glanville. The judge who assigned to them, Judge Krause, had given them until 5 p.m. Monday, July 8th, Eastern time to respond. But just like an hour and a half before that deadline, Adriane Love filed something saying that she needed more time, asking for a couple of more days, because saying she'd been called away from work for a medical emergency involving an immediate family member. So the judge granted the request pretty shortly after that. So it's now Wednesday, July 10th at 5 p.m. The responses are due. So again, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, the tone they take in there. I think we're going to be seeing obviously a lot of case law. We can just go through the other filings and look at the main judge recusal cases in Georgia state law and imagine what they're going to be arguing here. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of tone they take in opposition to this. But here's Judge Krause's order, filed shortly after that. 5 p.m. July 10th on Wednesday. So I'll try to go live again, schedule something again for everybody, and we'll go over the filings, and I'll send something out for sure. But thank you guys.